So, as the title suggests, I'm going to share with you the things that I've learned from my first audio booking. Now, this is a tech channel, and a lot of you know that I'm a professional voice actor. I've been doing voice acting for about 16 years, and I've done everything from games, animation, promo, commercial, corporate stuff, long-form narrations, tutorial videos, all that stuff. But this indeed is my first audiobook booking. The book was probably about 4 hours straight read through, 34,000 words. And yeah, it was quite an experience, right? You realize that an audiobook and a promo are two different animals. You have a marathon and then you have a sprint, and you need to be prepared and work towards two different ones separate training for each one. So I'm going to share with you the 12 things that I learned from doing or booking my first audiobook. All right, number one is, well, this may sound silly, but it's very poignant. Make sure don't stand. Okay, the way my audio booth is set up, it's basically for standing. It's in a walk-in closet, so I'm standing most of the time for everything. It's perfect for promos and commercials and all that stuff. But for audiobooks, not so much. I found out quickly that my feet, ankles, my knees, my hips, my lower back, all the way up to my neck, I started feeling pain immediately. Now, I consider myself to be a healthy and fit guy. I like to take care of myself, but each chapter, there were probably 8 chapters. There was an introduction added as well and an acknowledgement at the end. And each one probably took about 30 to 45 minutes to get through. And keep in mind, there are stops or repeats when you're actually doing. You're not going to have that perfect read every single time. But yeah, I'm probably standing in the closet for about 45 minutes straight. And after a while, reading those chapters, starting, stopping, taking a break, and going, over time it started to add up where I'd start feeling pain in my legs. Like I said, my feet, my lower back, and my hips. So definitely, if you have the ability to sit down for long form, such as audiobooks, I would definitely recommend that. Okay, the second thing that I recommend, or that I learned from doing an audiobook, is make sure you're cool and comfortable. I'm recording in my home studio, right, which is actually like a bedroom, and I fashioned to it my voiceover studio. So I have to keep the AC turned off whenever I'm recording, and what that means, it gets hot really, really, really quick. So again, if we're talking about me reading for 45 minutes straight for a chapter, it gets hot really fast. And now I have to turn the AC off because I don't want noise to be introduced into the recording, especially for an audiobook. So really quickly, I started sweating, drenching. My shirt would get wet. It would start sticking to my shirt, and that would even start making a sound whenever I would move in the booth. So definitely, if you can some way, make sure you're staying cool while not having it affect the sound of your recording. Me, in the end, I ended up having to record shirtless. All right, so number 3, recording and then editing. When I first read the intro, I decided to record the intro and then edit. After that first one, I was like, no, this is not going to work. So I just decided to read the entire book first, or record the entire book first, and then go back to the edits. So that's staggered editing, like read, edit. It may not work best, especially you might mess up with your flow of going through the book. But I chose to read the entire book, record the entire book, and then go to the editing. All right, fourth thing that I realized is, and this is going to sound obvious, but it really helps you in the long run. Use your normal speaking voice. And this is so important when you actually audition for the audiobook. Remember, you're going to be there for about 4 or 5 hours, however long the book is. So you don't want to add some kind of affectation to your voice during your audition, because they're going to be expecting that, and you want to deliver what they heard or what they want. So definitely just read the book in your own speaking voice, so you're not suffering from fatigue in the future because you're trying to hold on to a voice that you gave them in the audition, and now you have to maintain during the read of the audiobook. So just keep that in mind. That's something that's huge when it comes to audiobook reading. All right, the next thing, the 5th thing. Talk slowly. Me, I'm a natural fast talker. It's just the way I am. But definitely with audiobooks, you want to talk slow, so you're number one, you're not putting yourself in a position where you're doing more mistakes than you actually should. Take your time, read the sentences nice and slow. Find your rhythm, find your pacing. The less mistakes you make, the better. And of course, you're understanding what's happening. And if speaking too slow sounds kind of maybe uncomfortable for you or just weird, keep in mind a lot of audiobooks, they do have the part where you can actually speed up what they're saying. So as long as you in the beginning are setting that initial slowness, nice, comfortable read, that slow, comfortable read will translate even better to them pressing fast forward on the recording. That makes sense. All right, next one. Get clarity and have communication with the author. A lot of times within audiobooks, you're going to have, table of contents, index, or whatever, maybe even references. Get clear with them, have some open communication, and make sure, hey, do you need me to read all these references? Is this what you want? This what you want? I have listened to audiobooks where someone actually spent like a good 30 minutes just reading the references cited within the book. So if that's what they want, then I guess go through it. But me personally, I reached out to the author, like, hey, do you want all these references being read? And they're like, hey, no, don't worry about it. So have open communication with the author. All right, the next one, I think we're on number 7 now. Again, may seem like a no-brainer, but read in advance. Know what you're reading. Don't discover what you're reading as you're reading. And this is especially true for fiction books. The book I just read it's not a fiction book. It's more of just kind of like a self-help inspiration book, and giving all the, the guidelines and instructions how to turn your life around. But you definitely want to pre-read ahead and know what you're getting into. Know where the author is kind of making that shift and transition. If you want to read the chapter, if you want to read one chapter before, like instead of reading the entire book, you want to read the chapter and then record it, read the chapter and then record it. It may, depending on you, how it may disrupt your flow. But definitely have an understanding of the material before you record. And I'll go back to it again, especially if it's a fiction book where you have to change characters and know how do you want to sound for this character. Definitely read the book in advance. Okay, so we're done recording the book. Now we're going to get to the editing process. Now, keep in mind with editing an audiobook, let's just say you read the book, you read the chapter, it took you 45 minutes to read through the chapter. Consider yourself editing that chapter for about an hour or an hour and 20 minutes, depending on how many mistakes you made. In the recording. It's going to be substantially more time. So you definitely want to be comfortable in the process of editing the audiobook. Make sure you have a nice chair. Make sure your environment is comfortable. Make sure your hand is comfortable on the mouth and the keyboard. I found out very quickly that my editing setup is not very comfortable for long form editing, especially with me sitting there editing my voice for about a good hour and a half straight. So make sure that your environment, your chair, whatever your setup is comfortable, is maximized for comfortability when editing these long sessions. All right, so next one, take breaks. Feel free to take a break. Unless you're running behind, feel free to take a break. You gotta let yourself recharge. You gotta let yourself recoup and get back together and kind of let your mind rest and then kind of get back into it. Sometimes you can just fall out of it. You can have like reader's fatigue, and then you just kind of, your performance is just stale and dry, and you've kind of lost that kind of your own kind of like a little emotional investment within books. So definitely take a break. All right, so the next one I would definitely recommend or actually look into is outsourcing the edit. Like I said before, if you're going to read something for about 4 or 5 hours straight, the editing process is probably going to take about 8 to 10 hours. So you may actually want to consider outsourcing your editing to someone else who can prepare it and then send it back to you so you can put the final mastering on it. This is something I realized very quickly, like, this is going to take a while. I wish I had someone who could just do this for me, or I would read chapter 1, send it off to someone, read chapter 2, and probably by the time I was done with chapter 2 or starting chapter 3, chapter 1 has been delivered to me, edited free. All the breaths are out, all the mistakes are done. So definitely look into outsourcing your edits. I think veterans, they do this. Actually, I know they do this, but it's something you may want to consider, and also factor that into your budget as well. All right, next thing that I learned, no conflicts. Remember, you're reading an audiobook and it's going to take up most of your time. So try not to have additional projects within your line of sight where you're reading an audiobook and all of a sudden you have to read something else that may take away from your time of doing your audiobook. Remember, audiobooks is a lot of it's about rhythm. It's about pacing. It's about being in the flow. And whenever you break that, you're going to have different performances within the audiobook. Now, those differences, they are going to come. You may have people reading like 5 or 6 chapters in a row, stop, and then you'll hear a slight difference in the audio the next time they pick up. But you want that difference to be as minimal as possible. And going back and forth between projects could disrupt that. All right, next one, dedicate all of your resources, meaning yourself, to the audiobook. Remember, an audiobook is a marathon, and you've got to treat it like it. All right. So you want to be as efficient with your miles or the wear and tear of yourself on the audiobook and dedicate it for the book. Going back to the previous point, if you're doing the audiobook and then you're jumping into another project, you're adding additional wear and tear on your tool, on your performance, right? So depending if you've kind of like conditioned yourself for long form reads, or if you haven't, you could hear your voice cracking and breaking during the recording process. So make sure, dedicate all your resources to yourself for the book. All right, that's it. Those are the 12 things that I learned doing my first audiobook. As you can see, a lot of it may seem a little no-brainerish, but also it's a lot more on the physical side. And when it comes to long-form reading or like an audiobook, it very quickly gets into the form of being physical. So make sure you're comfortable, make sure you're treating yourself good, make sure that you're in a position where you can maintain and last longer during those long reads. All right, guys, hopefully I hope this helped you out. It was quite an experience doing my first audiobook. Actually look forward to doing more in the future and getting myself right for being able to tackle them better and more efficiently. Okay, guys, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Are you into voiceovers? What kind of voiceover are you trying to get into? Are you trying to get into audiobooks as well? Let me know in the comments down below. Until next time, guys, voice is cracking. Learn, do, and share. See you in the next one. Bye.